together and give a warm welcome to your host, Mike Dunn.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you to those of you who are here with us on campus, you guys. And thank you to those of you who are here joining us online as well. My name is Mike Dunn. I am the course director for media communications here at Full Sail University. I'm hosting this session titled The Multi-Tool Mentality. Please put your hands together and help me welcome our panelists here, starting with Brice Helman. We have Joey Morelli here in the middle, Joey Morelli. And a Hall of Famer this year, Jeff Unay. Give it up for Jeff Unay as well. Okay. So we are here talking about this multi-tool mentality, the idea of using these multiple disciplines as a singular creative. For my background, in addition to being an instructor here at Full Sail, I'm a musician, I'm a photographer, videographer. At one point, I think I had 9 business cards, and my pockets were very heavy. It hurt me to carry around my business cards. So the first question I want to ask you guys, I'll start with you, Jeff, is what is your title on your business card, and what does that really mean?
That's a good question. Hold on. Let me say director and producer of the film that I'm currently working on. Yeah.
Okay. Director, producer. What does that really entail in this multi-tool kind of aspect? What are you actually doing under that title?
What am I not doing?
That's a good question as well.
Is really what it comes down to. Yeah, and I love it all. I'm recording the audio for the film I'm making. The film that I'm currently working on, it's by design, it's an incredibly small production. Incredibly small being me shooting 95% of it alone. And then when we have these different events throughout the film, then I'll get multiple cameras and multiple sound guys. But really, the point being is that this nonfiction film I'm working on is really intimate. And so it's really important that I know a lot of different, well, I know everything, how to obviously operate a camera, rack focus, and do the audio, yeah, edit, cut, little promo pieces. Yeah, so it's pretty much everything you could imagine.
Everything. That's about 12 business cards right there alone.
Yeah, and then, yeah, all the other producerial stuff that is totally not all that fun to talk about.
We'll get there if we have time. Joey Morelli, can you tell us what does it say on your business card, and what does that really mean?
Well, it says senior video editor, compositor.
Okay.
That means just anything that's thrown my way is basically handled. Commercial spots from soup to nuts, basically. We do have audio engineers that handle the audio editing, sound design, and but I'll end up cutting, the music to fit the spot. Sometimes I'll cut the music and then build the spot around the music. Do the editing, compositing, tracking, rotoscoping, everything that you can think of. Plus, I'll support other teams as far as other editors and the dev teams as far as everything involved in video production.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And finally, Brice Helman, what does your business card say, and what does that really mean?
It took me a long time to come up with the title that I have right now.
Okay.
I'm a realist, which is basically a creative term, just calling myself a glorified engineer. The joke is that my business partner, who's also my boss, he's the chief of big ideas, and I'm the realist because I have to bring him down and say, no, that's not realistic. So my job title tries to be vague because I have a hand in design work, so I'm an AutoCAD draftsman, I'm engineering design systems, I'm going onto site, I'm an audio system programmer, I tune systems, I can mix shows, I do video systems as well, designing or setting up or what have you, lighting design, lighting programming, and most importantly, my specialty is show control programming. So a lot of different systems at play, a lot of different disciplines. So I try to be as vague as possible with my with my job title.
That's wonderful. I think that that idea is something I want to stick on, is that idea of having the generalism as opposed to specialization. Especially when you have that step of entering college. We're all kind of drawn to that question of what is your major, right? I remember when I started college, it was very hard for me to have that idea of what is my quote-unquote major, because I was drawn to a very general sense of this creative field. So let's move on to that. When you entered college, what was your idea of specialization, and how did that change through your growth throughout the industry? We'll go down the line again.
Oh, please.
We'll let's start with Brice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So when I was actually in high school, I'm very young compared to the rest of the panel. So
Thank you.
Go on.
Wow.
Appreciate that. Good night, everybody.
So my experience kind of starts in high school, which really wasn't that long ago, but I really got heavily involved with lighting. So I was doing lighting, designing lighting programming for theater performances, that type of thing. So I found Full Sail, and I came here because I wanted to be a lighting guy. And then I came here, and then they drilled signal flow into me, and I went through the recording engineering, first half of Show Pro. And then I was like, wow, like I'm doing all audio. And then when I finally got into Show Pro, I did nothing but video. I VD'd every single live lab, I think except for one where I front of house assisted. And so I was like, that's it, like I love video. And now I do a lot, but audio is my specialty. So that's kind of how my background has changed.
Interesting. What about you, Joey? How did your initial specialization grow to this polymath idea of trying a little bit of everything?
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean initial specialization?
Well, when you entered school, you had to focus on, this is my discipline, this is what I'm here to learn how to do. And how did that grow to, as you mentioned, these many different disciplines that you're working in now?
Well, when you walk into a candy store.
Is that Full Sail?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
And you came in and you got a nickel in your hand, and you can only buy one thing. How do you choose when you've got the whole store in front of you? I was changing majors in my head for the first week I was here. I almost went into the audio major program because I fell in love with the digital audio workstations classes. I love sound design. I use it a lot, in my own work. To be honest with you, when I first got here, I think the job title in my head was I wanted to be a trailer editor. I wanted to cut movie trailers, like feature film trailers. I wanted to do that. I thought that was the coolest job ever. And I'm kind of still doing that 15 years later. I'm cutting trailers for EA Sports, and it's cool, and I get creative control on some things I don't, because it's marketing run, but it's just something that evolved,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for me it's just really necessity is what it comes down to. So, I've always been an artist, and I've always loved to draw. And then after I started learning how to draw, then I got a computer and then started doing digital 2D art, and then it became like the next evolutionary step for me creatively was exploring computer animation and taking the drawings that I was making and bringing them to life. And then one day, or fast forward, and I'm working on these really large size projects like King Kong and Avatar and a handful of other ones. I've always just wanted to work in film. I've always wanted to be an artist in film. So once the 5D Mark II, are you guys familiar with the DSLR camera that just completely changed the landscape? So I remember working at Digital on Avatar, and the 5D wasn't even out yet, and I saw a guy with one of those little Sony cam, consumer level cameras, and he had an adapter, and he put a photo lens on it, and the image was just incredible. It looked like film. Immediately, at that point, my life pretty much changed. I went, oh my God, he has a camera that creates an image that looks like that. And what he was shooting that day were ducks in a pond. Really, he was shooting ducks in the pond, and it looked so cinematic. I was like, oh my God. And then I wanted to, at that point, I was like, oh my God, this is a whole new medium. I need to explore it, and I need to make something. And then I got too busy on Avatar, and when I was done with that, I knew I had to go back and start shooting my own films. And so I bought a 5D started shooting random things, and it's just kind of evolved into there. And then you just have to learn audio at that point. You know, you do a good job, and most of the times you do a bad job. But but for me, it was always just the need to create and want to make art in whatever form it is. And so always just trying to push myself as well and challenge my own, and never being stuck on a limitation that I don't know how to use this technical tool. It's just like, screw it, I want to make art. This inspires me. I'm just going to go after it and go for it and ask for no permission.
Right. I love a couple really fantastic pieces in there. And I love the idea of almost being backed into a corner of creation. And that's really my experience in learning these different mediums, is I simply could not afford other people to do them. So I was there to do it. And even mentioning a piece of gear like a Mark II is, if you think about maybe 15, 20 years ago, how unaffordable those things would be, where you have access to these incredible tool sets.
Yeah, good luck trying to be a student and shoot on 16 mil.
Right.
That just doesn't happen.
Very hard, prohibitively expensive,
Yeah.
and now that barrier to communication has really been eliminated by, there you go, right there, right? 1080, right?
Tangerine. Have you guys heard of the film, the independent film that just won Sundance this couple years ago? Shot on iPhones. Yeah.
Shot on iPhones. Really incredible. I want to move into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of your day and some of the challenges that you face. So we were talking about this multi-tool mentality, switching between disciplines here. So how do you mentally manage, and anyone's welcome to address this question, how do you mentally manage switching between these multiple disciplines throughout the day? And it's okay if your answer is having like a billion monitors in front of you. Go ahead.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
I can't live without my dual 24s at work, because there's so many windows open. Sometimes it spills to my laptop as well. There's a lot of projects that I work on that are all over the discipline spectrum. I remember a couple years ago, I was exhausted by the end of the day. I was filling out it took me 30 minutes to fill out my timesheet alone, because I had 9 job numbers that day. And they were all over the spectrum of different things I was doing. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And for me, it really comes to a head when I'm on site, when I'm doing an installation. And 1 minute I need to load audio tracks into this ride vehicle, and then I need to go over there and recut the background music for the scene. And now I need to go help the lighting guy, design the lights and program that, while I'm trying to work with the ride manufacturer and show control time the entire ride. So it's like, at any one point throughout the day, I have several different things going on. They're all different disciplines. And that's the most crazy time for me, is when I'm on site and when I'm in an installation, because that's where it really proves valuable to just be able to jump in and just say yes to anyone that asks you a question, and just say, yes, I can help you, I can do that, no big deal. And it saves the company some money too. They can send in 1 guy instead of sending 3. So there's something to be said about that too.
Let me ask a quick follow-up to that. Have you ever said yes to a project in the moment for something you didn't know how to do 100%?
Absolutely. It happens all the time.
Dude, you just described my day-to-day.
Yeah.
Maybe that's every project.
Oh, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
You go to the bathroom, you go on YouTube, and you're like, okay, I think I know how to do that now.
Yeah, the thing is, you gain enough experience in whatever you're doing, and you have the confidence to be able to, like I'm actually going to be working on a project soon, and I'm equally excited and equally terrified. I really mean it. And with the project, sounds really exciting, and it's like, oh my God, that's only going to be the biggest challenge of my life. Hell yeah, let's go. But knowing that, you have the problem-solving skills to figure it out and deliver something really great. So, and believing in yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just described my day-to-day. I mean, I always have people coming into my room, and I'm kind of the guy that people go to when they need something fixed, or something that they just can't figure out how to do, something removed, something added, and I'm the guy they'll come to. Like, I try to do stuff outside my comfort zone, because it challenges me more, and I always say yes to things that, unless somebody says, can you, model, a character from Toy Story in 20 minutes, I say, no, I can't do that. But if you want me to take a logo off that moving camera shot, I can do that, you know what I mean? But, yeah.
So what I love about all of these approaches that you guys have mentioned before is a very little mention of a specific tool or a piece of software, but you mentioned a problem-solving mentality, for instance.
Yeah, it's troubleshooting.
Completely, yeah. If you like working in film, and working on story, if you love solving big, massive, jigsaw puzzles that are stacked up to here, if that looks absolutely horrifying, then you probably don't want to get into filmmaking. But if that looks exciting, then you might, yeah.
You might enjoy the multi-tool mentality there.
Oh God, yeah.
In addition to that sense of problem solving, what would you guys say would be the biggest skill sets that you would need to be a polymath, a Renaissance woman or man, whatever word we want to use here?
Scheduling. Yeah, you have to be good with your own schedule. I mean, I have a lovely wife and 3 incredible little boys, and my day is full. So it's all about scheduling and knowing, putting my family events into my schedule and whatnot, and big scheduling stuff.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, being able to prioritize your work too falls into that. When you have a lot going on, knowing the path of least resistance and managing your time as I'm trying to take on all of these different things, that's how you can ensure that you're going to be able to get through everything.
Yeah, prioritizing. Yeah, definitely. Especially when I work with the marketing department, we have to when multiple projects come down at the same time or they start piling on, we have to sit down and say, okay, which ones do you need first? And then we have to figure. And sometimes it's within a day of each other, and it gets difficult sometimes, but you figure it out.
Absolutely, and this kind of drives into the process of developing a workflow as well. What would you guys say would be some strategies in developing an effective workflow when we've all mentioned and we all recognize that need for good time and management, good prioritization there?
I would. I think one thing that's important that is definitely worth talking about is staying healthy.
Yeah.
My schedule is slammed. I don't really have time to go out and waste my day. Any single day, any single moment is generally pretty much, accounted for. So when I'm working on my films, it's either I'm sitting down and editing and working things out, or I'm, once I get to the point where I'm exhausted working, then it's time to watch films and get re-inspired. So I have a standing desk with a treadmill, and I'll just watch Cassavetes films nonstop as I'm walking and getting steps in and being healthy. So yeah, man, consider your health too.
Absolutely,
it's a marathon.
Very good. Any other tips and tricks for a manageable workflow for multiple creatives?
I'm going to second that standing desk because that, believe it or not, I have 2 desiccated discs in my lower back from when I was in doing karate. I literally have 3 spine bones that are sitting on top of each other, all the way at the base. And I just discovered yoga, and also the standing desk. And the companies that I've worked for has been very accommodating to you got to explain to them how healthy editors are gonna they're gonna be a lot happier and they're gonna be a lot more creative.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Being in pain when you're sitting is the worst thing you can do for your back. It's the worst thing you can do. So we actually got standing desks. I'm in the process of getting one for my own edit suite at home because one that you can lower up and down. If you want to sit, you can sit. But it helps, and it literally with the yoga and with the standing desk, the pain in my back has gone away.
Right.
And it was very debilitating. Literally couldn't get in my car at one point. Yeah, I had to get in sideways and kind of just creep in, and pain was excruciating.
Incredible, and those are 2 answers that I didn't expect too. And I think it is so important to have a healthy perspective when you're in that creative mode. We all have that moment where we've been at a desk for 10 hours and you stand up and it's just is terrible.
And having this treadmill desk, which is awesome. You guys, has anyone tried it? It's so cool.
I'm going on Amazon when I'm getting home.
Yeah, so that's what I watch films on. So instead of sitting there, in a chair eating popcorn and a soda, I'm standing watching a film, and through that action, I don't know, man. You'd be surprised. It's a hell of a way of taking in a film.
It's great.
I have a
Brice,
weird image watching you do it, though.
Yeah, just walking.
Just eating popcorn and walking at your desk. I'm just.
Yeah.
We're going to live stream that as well. That's the follow-up.
It's awesome.
Yeah, very good. Brice, any tips and tricks for a workflow?
I gotta throw out mental clarity. That's a big thing. When I start getting stressed out, I start shutting down. Things start falling through the cracks. I start forgetting about things. And it's like, okay, when I get stressed out, I need to stand up and take a 5-minute break. I need to prioritize things during that time. Think about what's ahead in the next hour, and prioritize things in that next hour. I made it a joke earlier today. I said I was telling someone that I have to put reminders on my calendar to send emails to people. I have to schedule time to email people because I have so much things going on. That's what it feels like sometimes. But in the morning, part of my morning ritual is I wake up and it's like I'm thinking about, okay, I know I have this, and this to get through. This is the priority. This is the time allotment I'm going to put on all of that. And if something comes up that I'm not preparing to deal with, I'll take a 5-minute break. I'll reprioritize, and I'll get back into it. You're no good when you're stressed out, and that's true for anyone. So take a breather, take a break. That's how.
Don't forget to eat too.
Eat.
That happens all the time.
Did that happen today?
Yeah, I did.
Being
I did,
hangry
totally.
is not productive at all.
You have to remember to eat.
Too.
Yeah.
You eat healthy.
Yeah, I don't eat red meat, but sometimes I get so on a roll with something.
Right.
I could start at 8 or 9 in the morning, and next thing you know, it's 3, 4 o'clock, and I haven't eaten lunch at all. So you have to take care of yourself first.
Right.
Yeah.
Take care of
It's most important.
It's very important. I don't think people talk about that enough.
They don't. Nobody does. Nope.
That's fantastic.
You guys are young now. You're like, whatever. These old guys.
I'm glad we're getting it here. That's a great message to put out there. Let me address something that is initially kind of negative for the path of a Renaissance person. Is we have this phrase, the jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Yeah.
Culturally, there is usually a shift towards specialization. If you think about that early childhood, you get that question, which is very positive. What do you want to be when you grow up, right? So first, I would like to hear, well, what is your earliest memory of what do you want to be when you grow up, and what do you think is the cultural perspective of a Renaissance person?
What did I want to be when I grew up? Oh, wow, that's funny. Well, I remember being a kid and always, my parents would see me draw, and I would create these like really detailed drawings, and then they said, "Oh, wow, you can be an architect." Like there was no mention of like the thought of working in film. That just seemed like it didn't even seem like attainable at all. But I always thought, wow, that'd be really cool to work on movies. That would be amazing, And so with every step that I've just kind of pushed as far as like my own art, it's kind of brought me, one step closer to that. Working in, I had a chance to work on a lot of great films, doing a very, very specific job, and having done that for a number of years, and then deciding, you know what, I could probably work on the next, big trilogy of films and things like that. But 7 or 8 years down the road, I'll pretty much be at the same spot that I was after delivering a film like Avatar. I would like to do something that would completely just challenge me creatively, and so that's kind of where I am right now. Is just just waking up and working on something that. And I'm doing a lot of different things, but that's part of it. That's part of the need to create and make something and challenge myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Joey, what for you, if you have an earliest memory of that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what do you think is the cultural challenge that comes along with this role of generalization and having many different skill sets instead of just focusing on one?
Well, when I was really little, like 10, I wanted to be a baseball player. That's what I wanted to do. I was in Little League and everything. But my mom passed away when I was 10. And it was a very tumultuous time from 10 till 14. Then I saw Star Wars in the theater when I was 14. And I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be an X-Wing pilot.
Yes. No brainer.
That was it. I wanted to be an X-Wing pilot, and I would do whatever I had to do to go to X-Wing school, and I would be a pilot soon,
Right.
That was it. I didn't even know that creating films was a job.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know that there were jobs for that. I thought it was some kind of a magic castle where these things just kind of came out of, and just cranked these things out. I had no idea.
Right.
I had a very sheltered life, as you can see.
Yeah.
But As far as the multi-tool, what was the other part of the question?
What is the challenge culturally of having this general view of a skill set instead of just focusing on one? What
Well,
are the challenges?
in my opinion, it depends on what market you're in.
Right.
Because in a Florida market, it's a small market. Okay, my longevity has been to have my hand in everything.
Right.
Basically, I try to stay away from physically shooting. I go on set and I help composition-wise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel that knowing everything, it spreads you too thin in some areas, and I like to focus on post-production. That's what I really love. I really love editing. I love the timing. I love compositing. Really love those two things. So the card description is. That's what I really like.
I could say that's a big challenge for having this multi-tool mentality is understanding when to say no to projects as well, or when to say this is a skill that because we all love learning. This is kind of the similarity we all have is just picking up these different skill sets.
Oh, yeah.
When you have that and you say, well, I love this post kind of part here.
Well, and also in a small market, I've seen in my experience, I've seen people not adapt to new technologies and techniques and software and hardware and this and that, and they kind of stayed with the old school, and I saw 12, 13, 15-year veterans get let go.
Absolutely.
And the new guys who want to do more and learn more and constantly, I'm always learning, I'm always in school, one way or another. I'm doing tutorials, I'm doing workshops, I'm doing webinars, everything you can imagine. I just got out of a 40-week nuke course that I took Escape Studios in London. I took it for 40 weeks, every day, 3 days a week in the morning before I went to work at EA. So just because I wanted to learn nuke, I wanted to learn it from a person who is in the business. My teacher was she worked at the Mill in the UK, which is a huge studio. So I'm learning. You can't learn enough, in my opinion. It never stops.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible. That mentality of always learning.
Yeah.
Brice, do you have an earliest memory of what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I think that was always evolving. I actually started life as a IT tech, working in my school district, and I thought this is really cool. This is what I would go into. I was all into programming classes in high school. And then, but I was always working in the theater, and I was like, I really like this. And then I was like, is that a thing? Like, is there a college for that? And quick Google search later, and here I am. And so then just once I got here, like every month, what I wanted to do when I grew up, even here at Full Sail, kept changing. I'd go into this new month and be like, I'm totally going into post-production. I love it. And then I got into lighting class. I'm like, nope, I'm totally doing that. I'm going on tour and doing lighting. It's like, it kept changing. And fortunately, I feel like I'm in the position now where it's still always changing, but I don't have to keep changing job titles to do it. I have the ability to jump into two different things. And I kind of have a problem with that right now because I get really, really passionate about all these different things, even projects that like we're not hired for. I'm like, they're doing it wrong. They're using the wrong product. And it's like, sometimes, my plate is so full with the projects I do have, it's like, I have to tell myself, I can't care about that right now. Like, I know I want to jump into that discipline, but I just can't care. Like, someone else is going to have to do that. I'm focusing on audio for this project, and that's all I can handle. So,
I think there's something, the power of being able to do a lot of different things or have a lot of knowledge in different aspects of, your craft. I think the obvious benefit is you kind of know how to do everything, but you also know that the things that you definitely don't like doing or not very good at, So also you don't get, you can call BS on a few things, like, really, you're doing it that way? No, you can do it in a very simple other way, or you're completely doing it wrong. So yeah, I mean, those are some of the advantages. But I think also knowing what you're pretty good at,
Right.
Yeah. If someone ever came up to me and said, oh, well, jack of all trades, master of none, it's like, do you want to visit one of my installations and see everything that I did? I mean, you can judge for yourself. I mean, I go ahead, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know when to stay out of things that I'm just not good at. There are plenty of things I'm not good at, and I can stay away from that.
See, that's where the jack of all trades label comes in,
Right.
because some people think they can do everything, and if you can do a few things really well, but you do one thing really bad, that ruins everything else. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it probably costs you more work in the future.
Sure.
You know? I think it's kind of important that you are confident in the things that you do know, and you should know when to stop.
When to stop.
And when to say, you know what,
takeaway.
Somebody else should do that.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just being a professional at some point,
Right.
you know, like,
Sure.
or inexperienced people generally kind of say, oh no, I could do it all,
Yeah.
and then deliver something and expect you to be proud of them because they did it all, but you're like, dude. You know? Like some of these.
Whenever you get that moment,
yeah.
but dude,
Yeah,
usually
really.
these things are going bad.
Yeah.
Very good. Joey, you mentioned something about just that element of adaptability that comes along with being a polymath, multi-tool kind of person, and especially how that relates to the job force, seeing people go away when they are ultra specialized, and that specialization going away. Let's talk a little bit about where we see these trends going. Where do we see this going in the next 5 or 10 years? What does the future of media look like, and how does this element of the polymath, of the Renaissance person, fit into that future of media?
Well, like I said, it depends on your market. Usually, and I've talked to some of the Hall of Famers, like Tim Naylor, is a brilliant guy. I told him how much I love compositing, and he offered to critique my reel. And I showed it to him, and he's like, you got so much stuff in here. You got motion graphics, you got editing, you got this, you got that. He said, you want to be a compositor, you have to make a compositing reel. So it's kind of got to be specialized, And that's where he's taught, because he's from ILM, and out in California, you want to apply for a compositor job, you have to aim for that with your reel, and it's specialized. Here. It's different. It's so much different because in Florida, because the EA job, I never applied for that job. I never applied for it. Scott Mosteller, who was the media operations manager, saw my reel online, and he was just impressed with how many different things that I was doing, and at the Golf Channel, because I basically was like a one-man band at the Golf Channel. The only thing I wasn't doing was shooting, and I intentionally said, you know what, I think we should hire a shooter to do this. I will do everything else, but the shooting, you're going to take me out of the studio for an entire day to do a shoot, and now I'm going to have to come back and do all the post. I would rather sit here and have them bring the footage in and go out and shoot some more while I'm working on this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I believe in not spreading myself too thin.
Right. Interesting. Brice, I don't want you to have to reiterate exactly what you said. I know you were on a panel for the future of media, but where do you see this trend going in the next 5 to 10 years, and how does that Renaissance person, one-man band mentality fit into that?
Like I said earlier, it's about not backing yourself into a corner, is what I keep saying, is the more that you can predict about what's going to happen in a project, or what's going to happen with the equipment that you're using, or what's going to happen with the current state of media or the current state of whatever, the more that you can predict and adapt to that, the better off the project is, the better off you are at maintaining your status quo of being a polymath. That's what's really important is, do I have what it takes to constantly learn and constantly defend my territory, defend my title that yes, I am a jack of all trades and I can handle that. That's what it comes down to, is knowing your territory and constantly learning and improving yourself. I think there's a lot of self-reflection in that too.
Interesting, that element of self-reflection. What do you say, my friend?
Oh gosh, future of media.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I don't know. You guys probably have a better. Well, I mean, as far as film goes, I mean, my head's been in independent film for a while now, and there's a lot of big steps being made in not just making a film. I mean, like the gear is getting easier to manage, and the image is becoming more and more beautiful, and it's more accessible and whatnot. But there are big changes happening in distribution and also marketing of films. So, people are gonna, people always say, oh, well, they got this big VR thing coming, and video games and all this other media, and film is dying, and maybe the theater's dying, but people are gonna still keep making films, and people are making films at a higher rate than ever before. So I think there are huge steps in distribution and especially marketing of films.
Interesting. That barrier to actually reaching an audience now definitely going away. I want to wrap at least this section with this. Can you think of one project for all of you, one project that really pushed you to the limits of your skill set, where you were switching back and forth between those disciplines in one project alone?
Every project for me, yeah. No, like if I'm working on a project that's too easy, then and I've done it too many times, it probably means I'm not gonna be happy doing it. Like I really need that. I have a need to, be in an uncomfortable place with my work, and if I don't feel challenged, if I don't feel like I'm growing creatively, artistically, or skills-wise, then, and if I feel like I can do something in my sleep, then I generally try to not do too many of those projects or stay away from them. Yeah, no, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Joey, any projects you can think of where you were really pushed to the limit of that skill set there?
Well, like I said, I'm like the studio troubleshooter.
Right.
One project, big project that comes to mind was Tiger Woods 10. It was a game, and I actually composited the tournament challenge menus. I was at the shoot with Tiger. We shot him in green screen, and I was charged with compositing him into a menu with the buttons. And in the middle was a video of him playing a hole from a tournament, and he was describing that hole while right next to it, and it was all encompassed in a menu.
Wow.
So the challenge was, and this is where the whole troubleshoot. I think this is where I actually established my reputation at the studio as a troubleshooter and a fixer. Yeah. Because the night before we were going to master, we found out that Tiger's caddy was not licensed. So all the videos that were in those menus had to be removed. So we had a meeting, and I said, well, you know what? And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I said, I can take the caddy out of these videos rather than replace the shots. If you want, we can try this. So I tried one, and I showed it to the executive producer, and he was like, go, go, go. So I believe it was 18 videos in one night. I had to pull all of the caddy, because, Tiger's shooting and the caddy's standing next to him, so I had to composite out the caddy in each one of those videos. And it was like a strip of video. Right. Tiger's here, there's a nice glowy moving background, and the buttons are here, and the video's in the middle, and Tiger, and I'm literally animating the video so Tiger stays centered in the frame, but the caddy is next to him in every shot. So yeah, we got that out, and we made the master deadline. And my manager came up to me afterwards. He said, you know what, dude, I don't know if you realize this, and I don't know if anybody's thanked you yet, but you saved the company about $500,000 in fees, in fines, for missing the glass master. Right. I don't know. That was my first real, wow. I got hired in 2008, and that was my first real game experience. Mm-hmm. So
that's incredible. I hope you remembered to eat during that experience.
No, I didn't eat.
Oh, that's when you knew that was.
That's when I found out that we don't eat.
Okay.
Yeah. Eating is optional.
Eating is optional.
So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Brice, what about you? Where were you really pushed to a limit as a Renaissance person?
Yeah, I think it comes to a head on every project that we have to schedule our meltdowns on at least one time every
at
least once every project. But there was definitely one project that it keeps kind of recurring. I've made 4 trips to this particular installation, and mainly for upgrades, changing out media, that type of thing. The first time it was me as the engineer. I had a project manager there who's also an American, and this is happening in China, mind you, so there's a whole language barrier to the story. But then we also had a translator there to try and help us out. So the scope that we were in was I was doing show control programming for this dark ride, and we were also handling audio. Audio is basically set and forget, but I have to handle all the assets as well. So then the creative producer comes in and he wants to, start tweaking, flavor up these assets over here. You know what? We need to add some more sounds over here. So great, now I'm a sound designer, and now I'm dialogue editing for all the picture, and then now we have to remix everything in the scene because what you hear in the studio is different than what you hear on the ride. So now we're loading all this track, and while I'm still working with the ride guy, doing all the timing. And then the lighting console came in finally from customs, and now I have to, program the lighting controller, and now I'm practically being the lighting designer here and working with the Chinese lighting programmer, and that's there's the language barrier. And so there's all these things, and there were several meltdowns on that project. I had to very rapidly learn how to do stress management very quickly during that project, and I was still very young then. So
Sure.
So now now every time I have to go back there, it's a little bit smoother, but I don't wear any less hats. I think I only end up wearing more hats every time I go over there. So, so that I can kind of definitely say that entire attraction is mine. Like, I've done it all, so that one is mine. But every installation I've done it always kind of ends up being that way. But there's that one particular ride that I'll never forget.
Absolutely. Okay, folks. At this time, we have a few minutes for questions from our audience here. If you have a question for our panelists, please raise your hand, and a microphone will be brought to you. For those of you joining us online, please direct your questions to our online moderator, who will try to accommodate any questions you have.
So, hi, my name is Donguk, and I have a question about between specialist and generalist. Doesn't matter movie or game. I heard from lots of people generalist is more better than the specialist. But I think like specialist about modeler or specialist about audio, I think specialist more effective than the generalist in the industry, but I want to hear about this of your opinions.
When I'm working on different films, I just want to be surrounded around people that are smart and they're problem solvers, because we're all generally pretty good at what we do. Like if I'm working on a large film, doing a specialist job, even if it's a specialist job, there's a lot of things that you're doing that are completely outside of your specialty. I mean, for me, when I was beginning to do build facial systems for these leading digital actors, there's the sculpting aspect, but also there's a lot of tool development that goes along with it. So even with that specialist job, specifically working on the faces of characters, I had to basically teach myself how to program and MelScript and build tools, because when a guy like James, like even before Avatar, there was only a few leading digital actors ever made in film. There's Gollum, King Kong, and Davy Jones, thank you. And then when I started on Avatar, asking James Cameron, okay, well, how many leading digital hero facial systems do you need for your film? He was like, well, we need a facial system that's going to be really good for all the digital creatures. And I was like, okay, well, how many are we talking about? And he was like, oh, I don't know, 300 something. And it's like, okay, yeah, good luck trying to just be a sculptor on that project. So I had to work with a team and myself to build an automated process to be able to build high-level, Gollum, King Kong specialized or complex facial systems, and propagate that to hundreds, even depending on the different faces that you may have, like from a creature to So, I guess my take is, I just want to be surrounded around people that can solve problems and that have that way of working.
Yeah. Well, it's possible to specialize per project. You don't have to be a generalist or a specialist for everything. I mean, sometimes we get overwhelmed with projects, and I will jump in and offer like my graphics specialists, to take that off the editor's plate, just because he's got so many other things to worry about. All right, I'll take care of the graphics. You don't have to worry about that at all. So now I'm just working on graphics. Sometimes, you have to do, it depends what you're doing, where you're working, what you're working on, Like Jeff said, I mean, you may be called on to do other things. And if you're ready to attack those things and you're ready even to learn something else, generalist kind of gives the connotation of everything. People who tell me they know everything, I turn and run as fast as I can, because those are the people who know nothing. People who know everything, they really don't. That's the jack of all trades, master of none. That's what that means. Somebody raises their hand and says, I'm a jack of all trades. Well, I kind of don't believe that. I haven't met anybody yet that can do everything. They do some things much better, but there are other things that just fall off. Yeah, I believe you can specialize and you can generalize. Both. You can be both.
That's an excellent point. And sometimes those are just problems of the words that we're using to describe these things.
Yeah.
Of generalizing or specializing.
Yeah.
We're really
label.
talking about multi-specialist
Yeah.
mentality.
It's a label.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's really just a label. Very good. I wanted to stay. You mentioned a piece there because I thought it was so interesting with Jeff, is that you've worked on just such a wide range of projects, and you've worked on these very huge projects, and you're working in independent film as well. So how do you see this skill set changing from the biggest budget projects in the world to these independent projects that you're working on?
Yeah, I don't really think of things like that. I mean, the thing I always think about is if what I'm working on right now inspires me to wake up every single day and be pumped, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I'm getting a chance to work on Neytiri or Jake Avatar for, a film that James Cameron, at that time, there was nothing else I would rather do. At that moment, I knew I had to deliver the best visual effects or the best digital characters I've ever done in my life, and hopefully, keep pushing the industry forward, that kind of thing. So, now the things that inspire me are just like, learning story and getting better at story and cinematography and simplifying my cinematography. These are the things that I'm just like crazy about right now. So it's really where I am right now, what project am I working on, and how I can push myself to a limit that I've never been before. Because that's what really inspires me, is like, holy shit, I don't know how to do this, but I got a pretty good idea of how to take step 1, 2, and maybe 3, and if I need help on 4, 5, So that's just generally how my brain works. But also, I kind of look at everything as just art. I was a kid, like out of the womb, I was drawing, and nobody else in my family would really draw. My mom was a nurse, my dad was a X-ray tech, and that's just kind of, my brother's now a nurse, and and then there was like me drawing, and I don't know. So I can't really explain why I need it, but I need to be creative like I need oxygen, and it's just how I feel about it. But the cool thing is what I'm finding is all the things that you've done previous to the point where you are right now, all these things help you. It all of it helps you. In fact, I'm going to be working on a project coming up pretty soon that is going to be able to combine, nonfiction storytelling and visual effects and all that stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's incredible. And I love that element that you mentioned that went all the way back to childhood.
Yeah.
And because those are really issues of identity, of saying, who am I as a person? And this multi-tool mentality is really thinking of yourself as a creator, an artist first.
Yeah.
And then everything else we do branches out from there.
Oh, yeah. And all of that experience influences what you're able to do now. And yeah.
Absolutely.
It's fun. I mean, yeah. I've worked with people at great studios that, if you ask them, oh, hey, I know you can do this thing. Can you do a few more things that I know you haven't done before? Do you want to learn how to script, or I could teach you how to use these tools and whatnot? And some people are excited about it, but some people, they're just like, no thanks. I just do this. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Really? That says so much to me. If someone just flat out says, nah, I'm not really into that. I don't really want to learn about that. I just do this. And I'm like, my take is, you'll only do that until that job is obsolete, and good luck to you, buddy. So
I've worked with editors that won't touch graphics. They won't touch it. They'll literally cut their rough cut together and sit there and wait for the graphics to come in.
Right.
I mean, when I worked at the Golf Channel, especially, I worked in creative services for 5 years, and when a spot came in, if the audio guys were booked, the audio wasn't going to get done. So I did the audio. You know, I did the sound design. I even went out and recorded some sound effects if we didn't have it. It's just, you just do whatever needs to get done.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I love that. Don't wait for
No.
it permission. Or
There's deadlines,
yeah.
And deadlines in broadcast is money, man. I mean, those slots are paid for already. And if you miss a deadline, they're looking to point it at somebody, you know what? And that spot was your responsibility. It doesn't matter if the audio guy was booked. You need to get that delivered. You need to get it done. And then, you know, after a while, you become the go-to person. You know what I mean? It's like we know that it's going to get done no matter what happens. And it's a pretty good feeling when they can depend on you to get it done. I mean, sometimes to a fault because you end up staying late, but, you know, good places take care of their people, you know, which is important also, that they don't run you into the ground. And it's always been that way for me. You know, they take care of me, and you know, I always do what needs to get done.
And you know, we're also talking about past experiences.
Right.
You know, you were saying as a kid you always wanted to be a baseball player. You know, and you played baseball, and I'm gonna bet that you learned about work ethic. You know, being an athlete, or you know, I'm gonna bet that that's where you learn how to really kind of challenge yourself and what you're able to do, you know, physically and whatnot. And yeah, am I right to assume that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Partially.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah, at an early age, you know, like I think that's one thing that's kind of cool about sports is like, you know, at a very, very early age, you can kind of see what you're all about, you know, what are you made of?
And not only that, but from an intellectual standpoint too. I like the challenge of learning, which is why I constantly try to push myself into other territories that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
You know, I like the challenge of saying, you know, I don't really know that much about this discipline, but there's an upcoming project I want to push myself. I'm going to study. I'm going to read everything on Google that I can find.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to try my hand at it. And hopefully I'm gonna stick it. You know, I believe in myself, and I really want to learn. I'm passionate about this. I'm gonna try and do it. And if not, then I know that I can just say I'm just not good at that. I tried, and I should definitely not try that again.
Right.
See, I think that's where growth comes from, is stepping outside your comfort zone and doing something different. You know, I've been an After Effects user for 15 years, and you know, Nuke is the industry standard in film for a compositor. So.
Wow.
The node-based thing is completely different mindset, and I've been embedded in After Effects. You know, not only my full-time work, but freelance also. I mean, day and night, 15 years. So I decided I was going to do it and try to learn, and it's a struggle. And told my instructor the same thing. You know, really having a hard time with this. You know, and she was like, "I totally understand. It's a different way of thinking, but once you get it, that light bulb goes on and everything just flows together." And I haven't hit that point yet.
Right.
But it's something that it keeps you going because it's a challenge, and you go after it. You just keep going after it until it happens, you know?
I love that word of flow, though, too, because that's what joyful challenge feels like. Joyful challenge feels like flow to us. Brice, you reminded me of something I always share with my students as well, because often you guys can think of each individual class as a job. That is your job for that month.
Right.
And if you are purely just focused on what are the assets I need to deliver, what are the assignments I need to do, and you're not thinking just for the joy of it and just for learning, finding that joy in learning, you're really only getting a small sliver of that experience there. Very good. Let's go back to the students in the classroom here. If we have any other questions, we are open to those.
We have an online question.
Sure.
This question is from Michelle. She's in our music business degree online program, and this is for anyone. If you are working on multiple projects at the same time that may be different in terms of topics or skill sets, how do you keep them straight?
My job number? Yeah, I mean, each job, in my studio, we have directories set up for each project. It's got all of the different directories, subdirectories within it, you know, After Effects, Edit, graphics, everything like that. And yeah, I mean, if they're totally different, it's easy to keep them straight. It's one is completely different from the other. It's managing the time, how much time you're going to spend on each project. What's the priority? Which one is the priority? It's time management. Like Brice said earlier, you got to prioritize everything, and you know,
Also, with if I'm juggling multiple projects, it's usually just you have multiple teams, hopefully, and so you have team members that can help you. And delegating, of course. So it's not only your own time management, but also managing other people's time, or that's part of it.
Absolutely. That's something I would like to stick on for a moment there too, because we all have this mindset of that multi-tool mentality that we love to learn, we love to figure out different skill sets. How does that interact with really the reality of working with other people as well?
How do you ask for help is my challenge.
Yeah.
It's like
Or being confident enough to ask for help.
Yeah.
But asking for help is a confidence thing. It's not like a useless feeling thing. It's something that you know that you've reached your limits and you need help. So you need to step up and ask somebody to help you. I can't stress that enough. Ask questions when you go out there. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Tell that to everybody we hire. Do not be afraid to ask any questions. Do not decide to go off in the wrong direction with something, because that will cost the company time, money, more work. It's a disaster. If you're feeling like you're going in the wrong direction, ask the question. Am I going in the right direction? Okay, good, I'll go that way.
Yeah, and just getting good at building a team, right? Like building, a solid core team, people that you really trust, and hiring people that are better than you. There's the old saying, I think I've said it a few times since I've been here, but A's hire A's, B's hire C's. So if you're an A-level, talent, you want to work with the best people. And if you're a B and you're maybe you're a little bit worried about your job, you're going to hire someone that's going to be below you. And so what you find, maybe in the short term, that's fine for short-term gains, but long-term, you're going to have a company full of a bunch of C's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
You want people kicking your butt every day. You want people better than you at even the things that you think you're good at. Work with the best people. And you guys have been in school probably long enough to know, like, that guy's pretty darn smart. I probably should be collaborating with him. Not this guy so much. More this guy. Work with people that are better than you and it'll challenge you. Yeah.
stepping back and looking at the big picture where I am right now in my career, it drives me up the wall. It drives me crazy with some of the things that my coworkers, my bosses have done to me in the past. I was in China in the middle of 2 really big, stressful projects. My boss calls me up and says, so I just landed this big project. You can't say no because I've already sold you, but you're going to be doing programming on board ship for a show that you have no idea in 2 pieces of software that you've never used before. But you can't say no. So it drives me crazy to think,
wow,
like I'm getting thrown into the deep end constantly. But and it drives me nuts. But what I realize is I'm working under someone that believes in me more than I believe in myself. And I have the way you get to the top, I believe, the way that you are constantly pushing the envelope is when you surround yourself with people that are pushing the envelope for you, that constantly challenge you to better yourself, even when you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful that I'm in that position, even though it drives me crazy. I'm really thankful for it.
Yeah,
Brice,
I had a producer like that at the Golf Channel. Same thing. When she'd hand me something a little too difficult, and I thought, you know what, we may need to go out of house with this. She said, I believe you can do this. I believe this is in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
She said, you can do it. I want you to give it a shot. And and just the belief that somebody would give you that, it kind of fires you up a little bit.
It does, absolutely. Jeff, I'd love to hear from you with this too. But we're really talking about mentorship as well, and who are these models that can push us forward.
Yep.
And in my experience, especially in trying these different disciplines out, is you can often feel very alone with that. Who has been a mentor in this realm for you?
I've been here I am, and sitting on this amazing panel in front of students. I would not be here if I didn't work with some of the best people in the industry and some of the most giving people. People that are better than you and then give you their time. I've had a lot of mentors, and I'm thankful for each and every one of them at different stages of my career. And one thing I'd like to add is that, when someone gives you feedback and someone gives you a note, that means they care about you. you know, they care about you, and they see something in you. The minute people stop giving you feedback, you're in trouble. It means you're very difficult to work with, you know, like, when have you ever given someone feedback and notes that you just didn't like? You just stay away, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, give people, you know, yeah, and also you have to learn how to get really, really good at receiving feedback, you know? It's really, thank you, sir, may I have another mentality. Like, you know, you have to take all that in, you know, and not saying you have to address every single note and make everyone happy. That's not what I'm saying, you know, like, just, you know, accept the feedback, know that they're trying to help you, and discuss some of the things that, you know, will help you move forward. I could talk about this forever, but really, like, oh, God, I hate working with people that get defensive. Okay, I mean, this is art. We're all struggling, and you know, with ourselves and being an artist and all that stuff, and we all get emotionally hurt. But you know, you got to take those notes and you got to take it again. I don't know. Yeah.
No,
No,
absolutely.
totally.
Forever.
Absolutely. You can't say that any better.
Yeah.
Hello, my name's Jamie Banty. I'm an entertainment business master's student. My question for you guys is that you all have many skills, but you also have the one thing that you're very passionate about. So is there a disadvantage to the multi-tool mentality? More specifically, when you're working in that one thing that you're really passionate about and then you have to switch to something else, is that a challenge for you? Is that hard to walk away from that thing that you love?
Well, usually when I learn something new, it's really by necessity. Kind of what I mentioned before. It's not like, you know, I have this crazy desire to learn every single thing. You know, it just happens. Like, oh, here I am on location shooting, and how am I going to capture the audio for the guy here and the guy over there? You know, like, what's the tool for that? You know, I'm not crazy passionate about audio. You know, like, I mean, my sound designers will tell you that, but and my sound mixers will tell you that. But I don't know. No, it's really by necessity. I mean, whatever you're working on. I mean, I don't know.
I would say part of what you said earlier about just being an artist has really helped me resolve that issue.
Right.
Going back 10 years, I got my start in the music industry, and along the way, I started to gain these other skill sets. And if you asked me 10 years ago how I would describe myself, I would say I'm a musician. And now I would say I'm an artist first, and music is a modality through which I put my art through.
Absolutely, yeah. Same here.
From an engineering standpoint, I can say the exact same thing. It's like I'm an engineer. I can do a lot of things. I might be good at a lot of things. That doesn't mean I enjoy everything. So, you know, a lot of my job is doing design work, is laying out blueprints and working with architectural drawings, laying down our design on paper. I cannot stand drafting. I mean, like, I'm good. I'm good at it, or so I've been told. I can do it. But that is not what motivates me to get out of bed in the morning, go to work. It's like, this is part of the job. I have to do this now. And then when the design is done and, you know, we can go out to site, then, you know, I'm going to start programming, which is what I'm really passionate about. And it's like, okay, so this is the first step. I have to get there. This is part of the job. So I can't say, you know, that I'm a audio system programming engineer. You know, I can't, that's not my job title. You know, I am an engineer. I have to handle all aspects of a situation or a project, and that's just what it is. There are things that I am good at, that I can do, that I just sometimes don't want to do.
Yeah, you do whatever you have to do to serve the project that you're on, you know?
Yeah, for me, it's I'm real passionate about compositing. I love compositing. I love putting that special sauce on a clip at the end, and having the whole thing come together, and making it look like you shot it that way. But rotoscoping, man, I'll tell you, thank God there's no windows in my edit suite, because for rotoscope, I've done projects where I've had a rotoscope for like 4 or 5 days straight, and I would have easily jumped if there was a window in there.
Yeah.
Because I hate rotoscoping with a passion, but I'm good at it because I know it's necessary in a project. You know, sometimes you just got to cut the guy's hand out crossing the face. It's got to come out. and what am I going to do? You know, I can't, and I talk myself into it too. I have to talk myself into it because I got to do. I have to start. Set the first keyframe. Just do it. So I hate it. I totally hate it. But when it's done, it's like, oh, okay, now I can do the nice stuff.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, it's just part. It's whatever needs to get done. Just do it.
Hi, my name is Theron White. I am in the Digital Arts and Design degree. And I kind of have a question mostly for Brice, because you were in like the show production and all that.
Right.
I wanted to have like a well-rounded, again, skill set. And as of right now, if I was to compare like my skills to like a restaurant, I could make a menu, I could make like the digital screenage and all that, but I would have no idea how to set it up. So would you recommend, like, should I after this go into show production, or would you think it's more of go into the industry and kind of learn from your surroundings? Do you think more of like college is like the main way to go, or kind of go with what I have now and then learn throughout?
Sure. I remember like my first month here on campus, and I immediately got plugged into the ShowPro crew and the ShowPro club. They're two separate things back then. And I was involved with both, and I was hanging out with people that were in their later months about ready to graduate. And that was the associate's degree back then. And I knew that I had more classes since I was one of the first few bachelor's program students. And I remember thinking to myself, like, it's unbelievable to me how much knowledge that these upperclassmen had over me. And I'm like, wow, like I can't wait till I'm at the end of the program and I'm gonna know so much. And then I graduated, and then I started working, and I'm like, I know nothing. Oh my goodness, I know nothing. And so there has been so much that I have learned on the job, and that's fine. You can be really successful even without a college education. I work with some really impressive, amazing people in the industry that have never gone to college because they learned everything on the road in their touring or working in theme parks or what have you. I think your options are going to be wide open the more you learn and the more opportunities you give yourself to learn different skills. So if you're in recording arts right now, for instance, and you think, I want to see what's out there in integration world or what's out there in lighting or video or anything else like that, ShowPro's, it's probably the best rounded education, and I'm biased because I'm ShowPro, but that doesn't limit you to what you can actually do. You know, I could be working any job that, I could go after myself if that's what I wanted. So I don't think your degree will lock you in to anything. I have had friends that have graduated from here in recording arts or in film, and they're doing something completely different in the entertainment field. And it's like, wow, glad your education got you off to a great start. But, they are excelling in their own career fields. And so there's nothing wrong with being where you are to where you want to go. College doesn't dictate that. It's whatever you want to do as you keep learning throughout your career path. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I can honestly say, just to add to that school didn't teach me anything about what I'm doing right now. I learned everything on the job. What school taught me was how to learn.
No.
School taught me how to take it in and absorb stuff. I learned in Full Sail that I could not learn from books. Manuals, threw away all my manuals. I took what's called a cognitive learning course, where you play mind games and brain games and you pull stuff out of yourself and you see what works, what you retain, and how you learn. And I learned more during that time here. So everything that I learned outside, I just applied myself and went after like mentors. I went after guys who I saw that were successful in their field. I emulated those people, and I hung out with them. I got coffee for them. I assisted for them, filled in for them when they were sick. My first big break came when an editor called in sick, and after that day, I was editing trailers the next day, and from then on, it's opportunity. It's not, you can't depend on your education to get you a job. It's part of it, but there's a lot more involved. And it's private projects, initiative. My first job, very first job I got wasn't even from a school project. It was from something I did in a compositing club that we had here. I went downtown and I shot something and I composited it, and the hiring manager saw initiative in that. He didn't even care what it was. He saw the initiative that I went out and did that on my own, alone, and built this little movie, and I sent it along with my resume, which my mother-in-law gave him, by the way. She was a realtor, and she had a trunkload of resumes of mine. She was just driving around and handing them out to all her clients. See, we didn't have Google back
That's
then.
career development.
There's no LinkedIn. That was my networking, okay? Yeah, my mother-in-law raining resumes on Miami Beach. And I got hired, okay? And I give her the credit for all of it. I give her that credit. But it was that little movie, and it was nothing. It was not, and I'm not saying you're not going to learn anything in school, obviously. Yeah. But Full Sail taught me how to learn. It was a real amazing, immersive experience, and made friendships that I still have today. 16 years later, tight friendships. Those people that you're around right now, you need to cultivate that and get with the people who, like Jeff said, who are killing it right now, because those are the people that are going to go out there and they're going to just go wild. And yeah.
Full Sail, it gives you a time and a place to make stuff, right? Like by the time you're done with Full Sail, hopefully well before you finish graduating, you're sharing your work and you're showing people what you're making.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't want to be doing is saying, oh, I want to be a filmmaker. Okay, great. Well, where's your film? Oh, I just have this really great idea and I just need money. Or I need something that I don't have right now to make the film. It's like, how do you expect people to respond to that? Like people want to react to something that you've done. Like, show me something so I can have a reaction to it, and then we can talk. You know what I mean? So Full Sail gives you a time and a place to focus on creating whatever that you want to create here, and it's up to you to share it and get notes and keep growing from there.
I want to quickly reiterate the idea of getting a mentor. And that's, I think they're really going to be able to fill in the gaps of, I really want to do this, and I'm kind of new to this area. Would you please take me under your wing and show me?
Right.
Absolutely.
Totally.
I mean.
And those people will show you, too. I mean, you ask
absolutely.
somebody,
I, for one, will gladly mentor anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so passionate about what I do and the knowledge that I have that I've gotten in the industry that it's like I will share it with anyone. And I kind of have to scale myself back sometimes because it's like they're like, I'm not an engineer. I don't even care what you're saying. It's like, I'm sorry, but I'm really passionate about this, and I want everyone else to be passionate about whatever it is they're chasing. Yeah. Whether you have a base education in it or whether you don't. If you're passionate about it, I want to help your passion grow. I want to take your passion seriously along with you. And
you can tell when a student's serious.
Yeah, you can tell really.
You know what I mean? Like you could tell. Like some companies you up and I don't know. There's an energy that comes off. And this guy's gonna make it.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen his work. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's not great, but it's pretty darn good. And he's got a hell of a good attitude. Or she's got a hell of a good attitude. You know it.
Absolutely. It can be a that idea of mentorship should be a very reciprocal action. You're giving something to them, they're giving something back to you.
Right.
And I think what ties all of this together, what you guys are talking about, is just the awareness of opportunity around you right now.
Yeah.
Brice, in your instance, you are looking at students in completely different programs, which speaks to your question. It might not necessarily be switching a program or something like that, but seeking out those people who are your peers in a different program and saying, can I learn from you? What can you learn from me as well? Yeah. And that's really how this industry works. There's a lot of, it's sometimes referred to as the gift economy, because what we do so often is about giving to people. And if you can approach it from that perspective, you can get a lot out of it.
Yeah. And having a mentor that can help fill in is one of those edge cases where it's like, you know what? I'm not the jack of all trades here. I need to go find a mentor to help me here. I recognize I need help. I need to go to someone else from a different degree program and help me with this project. I'm hoping that I can help them learn, and I hope that they're willing to teach me. And great, now we both just gained another skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I was going to school here, I was doing a lot of digital creatures and modeling. And I created a website, and all I did was just look at what everyone else was doing, and just being inspired by all these like wonderful, amazing artists working at ILM and at ESC at the time, which was those guys were working on the Matrix and Tippett, and every once in a while I would email a guy and go like, wow, your work really inspires me, and no expectations, just I just want to let you know, man, your work really inspires me. Here's what I'm working on, and so immediately we could at least have a conversation about it, and these what would happen is, if I was putting up, I was always cycling my work in, like my latest stuff would go up, and then I would take all my the little wagons that you're building, all the really simple little things. I would just start stripping those out and put all my latest work up. And then after a while, I found that these guys that I would, every once in a while talk to online that were just incredible artists, they would email me out of the blue and go, damn, dude, you're getting good. Like, wow, I just checked your website and holy cow, man, like what happened, 2 months ago? And I was like, well, you just giving me notes. I felt like I had a better idea of what to do, and they would just check in, and some of those guys have, had later on, offered me jobs to work on, big films with them. So, and a lot of those guys are like my friends now in the industry,
right,
which is really cool.
I think that's fantastic, and I think one real easy takeaway for all the students here is just the power of a thank you, is saying thank you for creating this.
Yeah.
And that's really building a relationship there as well. As you continue to create better and better material, the cream will rise to the top there, and it will show.
Yeah. But yeah, so don't email people out of the blue with no work to share of your own. Like, it's just like, oh, really, dude? I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, show me something.
Right.
Show me something. Right.
We have one last question on your left.
My name is Cheryl Smith. I'm a game design student. So for everything that they've been telling us about our program and within our industry, we really are required to work within a multi-tool environment. They stress that on us. We have to learn Maya, we have to learn Unity, we have to learn programming, even though that's not our focus.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes time for us to move out and get jobs, we really do kind of need to look into some form of specialization, when we're out looking for that initial job. And what do you suggest towards that for people that are in situations like that?
I don't know if it's that definitive, though. I mean, there's no one. There's no hard rules. Like, to me, I just look at it as like, we're all on our life journey. We're all on this journey. Yeah, we're all trying to get jobs right now, and that's the main focus for you guys. And you're probably thinking about that a lot. You have school loans, like I had school loans, and this is all you think about. But really, it's all about like the journey you go through to, like, like Full Sail is going to be a small part of your life, right? It's going to be a small moment, and you're going to be a very different person 15 years from now, 20 years from now. But all these experiences, I can go on. But yeah, to me, it's more life journey than anything. Like, you should be able to define what you want to do.
Right.
If you believe in yourself, if you believe in what you're doing, and you feel like you're progressing and you're working hard and you're putting the effort and you love and you're excited about what you're doing, then you should dictate your future, not someone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can set a goal of what you want to do, or you can set a goal like where you want to work, and then decide what you want to do in order to get that job. Like, if you want to work at EA, you go to the job site, and it says what the requirements are. Okay, it says Maya, Unreal, blah 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is that if you go to EA, you're probably going to be working on a proprietary engine eventually anyway. So they're going to teach you. There's going to be training involved. So you can't. And what you're learning now is awesome, but 6 months down the road, the software is going to change. Everything's going to change. It's going to be different. It's going to be different UI. It's going to be everything. It's going to be different. When I was here in '98, Maya was introduced. I was at SIGGRAPH in '98 when it was here in Orlando, and Maya was introduced for the first time. It was the most amazing thing I ever saw, nonlinear editing in 3D. I was like, holy cow, I just took the wrong major. I should go that way. And I was like, no, not really. I was hanging out at the ILM booth. I digress. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I always learned that you pick a studio that you want to work at with the kind of projects they make. Like I really want to work on movies like this. Okay, who made that movie? And then you look at the studios that worked on that. Like my friend Phil works at Method Studios, one of my favorite studios. You know, would kill for a job with Method. Method is one of the best studios in the world. They got studios all over the place. And you figure out what it is that they need, and I go after it. You know, they need compositors, they need trackers, they need people who are going to want to work, not just people who are just going to want to say they work at Method Studios. These are people who want to do the work. So don't label yourself by what you know. Yeah, just keep your mind open, and like Jeff said, perfect description. It's a life journey. Every day is going to be different. When you get out of here, I mean, I was learning new stuff right off the bat as soon as I got out. My first job, first job. Funny little story. It was actually it was a graphic design job, but I was working for a cap company, and I was taking logos and converting them into stitch patterns with a software that they trained me to use. It's called Signature, Pulse Signature, and they sent me away to train me on this stuff. And it was amazing because it took a logo and it created a stitch pattern, and then it went onto a floppy disk. Yeah, I'm older than dirt. It went on a floppy disk, and it went into the sewing machine that had 50 heads on it. And you put the hats on, and you know, my design just went on 50 hats. I thought it was cool. Amazing. You know, it really was amazing at the time. Yeah. So they trained me just because I showed initiative to get in the door. There's plenty of training out there. I don't know, maybe 5 out of 10 of you will probably not even be working on the same exact software that you're working on now. Just keep an open mind.
Yeah, I kind of want to share a little bit of my experience when I got out of Full Sail and I was, you know, seeing all those career development leads coming in. It's like, oh, this is great. Well, you know, I started reading through the leads and I was like, I mean, I could do it, but would I be really happy at this company? You know, I had to do a lot of research on the companies that I was looking at. It's like, am I going to be a good fit there? You know, how do I feel about this? And I went unemployed for about 6 months after Full Sail because, I was being picky. I was saying, no, I don't like this job. I don't think that one's right for me. So no one expects anyone to come out of college and be a polymath. That's not why you apply for jobs. Right. You know, if you could do it all right out of school, then you wouldn't need a job. You could freelance pretty well by yourself. So when I was hired into Funa was my first position, I was a project assistant, not an engineer, not anything special, not a designer. No, I was an assistant. I was expected to just help with the project and manage some data, pull some data sheets, you know, just keep, you know, housekeeping type of stuff for the project. And I had to quickly prove myself and say, okay, I'm going to learn how to draft. And so I started drafting in AutoCAD, and that's how I started getting involved with the overall design, moving the project forward. And I knew a little bit about Microsoft Office, and I was able to create some awesome spreadsheets to help us manage our workflow and things like that. And it's through the experiences that you have at work that turns you into a multi-tool. You can't come out of college and expect to apply and be like, oh, I'm such a multi-tool, I don't know how to apply myself to this position. Right. Look at the job lead. Is it something that you're passionate about, or is it something that you're just saying, I just need the money and I want to do this? Because that will dictate your happiness in the job. And I've seen a lot of people like, you know, I'm just doing this job for the money, you know, I had to do it. And it's like, well, you're kind of not jiving with the rest of the group here because we're all really passionate about this. So it happens, unfortunately. Yeah. And especially in the entertainment industry, it's really important that you all get along, you all jive together, and you make the magic happen. That's where it comes from. When you all have good ideas, you're all in the same synergy together, and you're not going to be happy there. It's not that anyone's going to be picking on you or whatever, but you're just not going to find the fulfillment that you're looking for if you don't apply yourself correctly. You know, when you apply for a job, it's not really you submitting an application. It's how do I apply this job to me? How can I apply myself to this position? Am I really passionate about this?
Absolutely. It's really, I think, just to wrap up, with that question, there's a big difference between a job description and your limitation in the industry. You're unlimited with this skill set. A job description is necessarily limited. And finding a culture that really works for you. For me, I've been here almost 10 years at Full Sail. I'm very happy to say I started answering phones 10 years ago here. Wow. So shout out to the phone operators here at Full Sail. They're doing a great job. But it was really about the culture for me, and it was finding that place within the culture as well. So to wrap up, let's give a big round of applause for our panelists here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you all so much for attending our session today. And we especially want to thank our guests once again, Brice Helman here at the end. We have Joey Morelli, and Jeff Unay as well.
Thank you. Pleasure.
We want to thank you guys for your knowledge and information. Thank you all, and have a great day.